Welcome, Restoration Referral System family. I'm Matt Danskin, and we're doing our weekly live a little bit different than we normally do. I wanted to bring in our own Brandon Jones, my marketing savage here, to lend some of his expertise and provide you all with some information. So today I'm going to be doing a training here a little bit later on the successfully coordinating a business development role within your organization. This is something I get a lot of questions around, a lot of my clients wanting to know how they can have someone who's solely focused on creating referral relationships, on partnerships throughout the community. And so I just want to talk about some ways that can be done well, or some problems that you may run into. Before we do that, though, I want to talk to Brandon, and we get the opportunity to talk to a lot of roofers across the industry, and there's
Absolutely.
some highs and lows, right?
Right.
Their skill sets, but you've been able to help a lot of them with their branding, a lot of them with the marketing aspect of it.
Mhm.
And that's what I hired you on here at Restoration Referral System for. And it's been, I think we're coming up on maybe 9-10 months since you've been
Absolutely.
here. So it's a little bit of a track history here, and you've changed Restoration Referral System quite a bit. But introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know you as part of Restoration Referral System, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, my name is Brandon, and I've started with Restoration Referral System about June of last year. And my main thing is paying attention to the small details in everything. So when it comes to branding and marketing, it's just something that I picked up as a child. I always paid attention to little bitty details, and people don't understand that everything matters when it comes to business. So the way that you communicate things, the way that you present yourself, your brand identity, your logo, it's not just one thing. It's a combination of a million little things that make the big picture. So just taking inspiration from that is kind of where I got into branding and marketing. I went to the University of Tennessee and then just went from there. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've enjoyed every bit of working with you, working in the roofing business. I think that's the industry. It has so many opportunities, especially when it comes to the branding and marketing era in that area, in that arena. I think that a lot of people, they understand the basis of what a brand is, but they don't really understand every single thing that really goes into it to make up that big picture. So again, that's kind of what I'm happy to bring to the industry, and yeah, just excited to what we're doing here, man.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of the clients that I talk to, they're really good at installing roofs. They're even good at selling roofs. They're good at customer service. They've learned, CRMs and all sorts of different technology. And a lot of times I kind of get the sentiment like, oh, well, like our branding is fine.
Yeah.
Like it, it could be better, but whatever. Like our customers do business with us because of the quality of work that we do, which is great. You've got to have that. Like,
Right.
You're not going to get far on like a really good brand and a crappy product.
Right.
Right. You'll get further than, if you have bad branding and a crappy product. But I think so many people shoot themselves in the foot by just saying, okay, like, yeah, like I got a logo, and it may be good or bad. And then they don't go any further. Yeah. And it's subjective too. But I've learned so much just from working with you about, the feelings that people get, building trust, and like whether they get excited about it or whether they, think that it's growing, or like all these like complicated feelings that people have just because of fonts that are used and colors that are used and the
Right.
combination of different colors and fonts and the spacing of things. Like just having something really crowded can like make something feel different than if it's like more
confuse customers,
spread out or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but what I've realized when we kind of did our brand revamp, which Brandon walked into his interview with like here's all the things wrong with your your brand, your website, all that. And I was like, wow. And honestly, I probably would have just like been done, except for like I agreed with all the things. I was like, oh yeah, like almost all the things. I think like 90% of it, which normally like I'm decent at that stuff. So normally like
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like
And
I
it
know better
wasn't,
than you. Like
and I will say this really quick. It's not that the brand was horrible. I think
right.
I think you built a great foundation for it. But there are always small things that you can just tweak and make better. I always tell people there's no problem with revising your brand. That's actually a very important piece in branding is the constant evolution. And I think some people they're okay with settling for what they have and sticking with that and not understanding as social media evolves, as all these technologies evolve and interrupt the world. You have to be in constant evolution of that, and your brand is you have to hone in on that as develop and grow. I apologize, but yeah, as you grow, you have to make sure that you're in tune with that, because otherwise you have all these brands bypassing you, and then you're stuck with the same brand that you had 10 years ago. And if you, graphic designers, and you have all these new modern younger designers coming in and having these new businesses, pop in every simple way and fashion. And then you have these older brands trying to compete with them and they can't. So that's why you see Coca-Cola evolving. You see Starbucks, their commercials, they're always evolving. State Farm, from when they first started, you see the evolution of their brand kind of just evolving. So it's just very important to understand that there's no problem with revising your brand.
Yeah.
That's actually great. That's a great thing to do.
Well, and I think, doing that piece right is really not all that. I mean, it takes skill, it takes talent, but like it's not a ton of work to just do it right on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to have the benefit of all of that going forward.
Yep.
Versus shooting yourself in the foot and being like, I'm going to cut this corner and I'm going to like, half-ass it on my branding.
Yep.
And then everything else you're doing, like your ad spend, you're spending money to show people your terrible branding.
Terrible brand, right?
And then it's like, go back to the start, like do that piece first. So
Yeah.
I really like, we've done, with us, with a few other companies, we've done like a brand guide.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I think a year ago I didn't know was a thing. I didn't know it existed, but I see like how important that is to like have a structured document. So like everybody on the team gets on the same page of like, this is what the brand is.
Right.
You can think through, not just like randomly, like this is the way that the brand is going to be presented.
Mm-hmm.
But then also like as you're hiring marketing companies, web development companies, apparel companies,
Right.
All this type of stuff, you're able to keep that brand consistent. And yes, you do want to evolve it, but it needs to be a intentional decision of like, okay, we're going to change these things about your branding, not just, oh yeah, well, I couldn't remember what the name of the font was, so we just went with this other font.
Yep.
Right.
And that completely takes away from the brand.
But by having that brand guide, I think makes a big difference. Can you kind of explain better what a brand guide is, just for anybody watching that isn't familiar?
Absolutely. So a brand guide is actually where you take your logo, you take your font colors, you take the actual fonts, and you kind of put them all together. And then basically, as a graphic designer or someone who understands spacing and things of that nature, you create a combination of how these things can fit together. So, you might have 2 or 3 different fonts. So you have a main font, then you have 2 sub fonts. So when you're looking at your titles, you use one font, and then when you're using things in paragraph form, or you're putting more text on the page, it's usually a smaller, thinner font. So noticing those combination is very important. So what a brand guide does, it helps someone that you are hiring, maybe on the outside, like a marketing company or someone specifically to do ads for you. It allows them to understand what you're using mainly in your business, so that they can also use it in that whatever ad format that they're doing, and then they can kind of cohesively come together. So no matter if XYZ company is doing something for you and ABC company is doing for you, they both mesh together and they, identify the same, even though two different companies are doing it, they still look alike and feel alike because you've had that brand guide to refer back to. So it's just very important at the basis of every brand. That's how you have these big companies, how everything looks the same, feel the same, and everything of that nature. So yeah, brand guides are very important in any business structure.
Well, and I think for anybody that you're working with, that takes the guesswork out of it for them too. Cause they
Exactly.
usually they're not trying to like go down some random path. They're just trying to figure out like, how do I make this client happy, do my job? And if you like given them the instructions, they know the lines they need to stay in.
Yep.
To represent your company. So,
Yeah.
Aside from that, we're kind of, talking about some of the details of it. A brand isn't a logo, right? This is, I think most people get that point by now, but explain for me, I know you've got a graphic up here to
Sure.
kind of talk about that. What is a brand? What all does that entail?
So I always tell people that your brand is a combination of a lot of different things. So of course you have your logo and your design. That's a big part of it. That's a part of your brand identity. But then you have the value, your value propositioning. So the way that people can charge more is because they have a solid brand. So if you are looking the same, feeling the same, if people have trust built with you, they're going to pay more money. They're going to come to you. They don't mind doing that because they know that I'm going to get a quality product and it's going to be done right. So if I go to a website and I see that there are things misspelled, it's not so professional, it really doesn't explain to me everything that you do, who you are, it doesn't give me that story behind the brand, I'm not going to have any trust with you. And a lot of roofing websites that I've seen, they're pretty much all kind of the same. Like you can tell like it's probably one big company that does most of them or two or three that does most of them. And they follow the same, I consider cookie cutter structure. I mean, the only reason I say cookie cutter is because again, I've seen 100 different roofing websites, all look thousands really that look exactly the same. So building that value is simply within your brand identity, your design as well. And then also it's with communication. So if I go to a website and I want to book, I want everything to be convenient for me. So if I go to a website and I see that I can't book an appointment, if that's what I'm looking to do and I have to contact somebody to do something, I'm going to probably bypass and go on to the next thing. Just like when I'm looking for reservations for a restaurant and I'm visiting somewhere, if I'm Googling trying to find a restaurant to go there for that night, I'm going to hopefully find a reservation online that I can go ahead and book and get a confirmation instantly. So bringing that back into the roofing industry, when I go to a website and I book something, I need to get an email to confirm that saying, hey, such and such, we see that you've requested your reservation. Here's a confirmation. So simple things like that also provide a lot of value and builds a lot of trust with the brand. So that value point is a big piece that I like to point out. And then the trust factor. And then also, branding and marketing is not just those things. It also requires strategy. Look at your research, look at your clientele, look at your audience. What does your mock-up audience look like? The people that are actually, going to your website and doing business with you, what do they look like? And then identifying that and then building your brand around that simply because depending on your target audience, the age, the demographic, the area that they're in, all of that makes a big difference. And you have to tailor your brand or your marketing specifically to those different aspects. So making sure you're taking notice of those small things on the back end so that you're not, like you said, wasting a lot of ad spend money and time on doing pointless things. You can really identify and strategize with simply just by looking at your clientele and your target audience.
Yeah.
And then as we go down, you see, of course, the logo is a part of the brand, marketing is a part of the brand, advertising, it all goes hand in hand. But the big piece is that trust and that strategy and knowing that if I do business with you, I can trust that you're going to take care of my biggest investment, my home. That's what people are looking for. So all of those things together make up a brand. It's not just one thing or the other thing. And it also means that you can't do one thing great and then fail at the other, because then I've lost my trust within you. It's just like a relationship. You can't build me up and say, oh, make me all these promises and then fail on some of the smallest and simplest things. And that's where I see the, threshold with a lot of businesses. That's either going to make and grow your business or it's going to, diminish.
Well,
And
I think some of the branding from what I've seen, especially like with roofing companies, are a good example. That brand, that logo, the colors, the feel of the website, it's going to denote like a certain personality,
yeah.
right? Which, to give one example, there's a contractor that's not a client of mine. Really nice guys anyway. But they only deal with like really high value, like high net worth, like luxury products or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And their logo looks like it. And the fonts and the way, the colors on the website and everything, and the types of photos that they have, like tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone goes to that website, like if I'm Joe Schmo customer with a lower middle class house and I look at that website, I'm like, this isn't my roofer. I can't afford these guys.
Yep.
But if I'm that rich dude, with 47 Rolexes and I'm like, I need a roofer. And I go to that website, I'm like, yep, I want the best. I'm paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think they can tell that story, and that's going to give you a specific result.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are your run of the mill, and there's nothing wrong with being the guy that does 10,000 shingle roofs one after another on regular Joe houses, there's a lot of money in that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got the fancy scroll fonts and like the website like that, a lot of your customers are going to think that you're too expensive for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's finding that right fit where you're going to attract the people that are a good fit for your company, for your culture. Even just like I've seen some brands that like, they look fun, right? Like, and if you go, like when I go into their office and I train with them, they're fun. Like there's energy, like everything. And then when I see them talking to their customers, they're having a good time. They're professional. They're getting the job done, but they're doing it in a fun way.
Yep.
Well, like their website sells that. And so people that are like, oh yeah, like I want a roofer that like I can enjoy talking to, they convert.
Yeah.
The people that are just like, nope, I want someone that's business only. I don't want somebody laughing in my living room while we're signing our contract. They're not going to get them.
Yeah.
And so
it comes down to all of that, man. Colors.
It's so many things but I feel like roofers, again, don't have your expertise, and a lot of times they're looking at this in retrospect, it's like after they've missed out on all these deals and they've had all these customers that weren't the right fit for them.
Yeah.
And they don't understand why. Doing that piece, I think, would save so much friction.
Yeah.
With having the wrong customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your brand sells itself. That's the thing. When you have a great brand, honestly, it will sell itself. So if you announce that you want to have a fun environment, you start with the colors. Make sure they're fun, vibrant colors. That's when people go to your website and see those colors, that's what invites them in. It screams fun. So yellows, orange, brighter blues, things of that nature. Those are things that kind of scream fun, excitement, and things of that nature. And I think the thing is, you have some companies that they want that fun, culturally they have a fun atmosphere at work, but then on the website, it doesn't scream fun. It screams basic. It screams light brown, whites, and tans as their colors, and that they don't go together. They don't, they don't coexist with one another well. So you really have to identify those things from the beginning, like I said, with strategy and really sitting down and figuring out as either an owner or a team. Everything is better as a team, I will say that. But figuring out what do you want your tone to be and who you are first. Correct.
I simply put, you got to figure out who you are, then you got to figure out who you want to do business with. Usually there's going to be some alignment there.
Absolutely.
I think with Restoration Referral System, I think we kind of lucked out in that, like, I did a decent job at that where we could make some tweaks.
Yep.
And it was still like a fit for what we do.
Yep.
I do still, I do still get sometimes people are like, oh, well, restoration, I'm a roofer, not a restoration company, so I'm not your right client. So I may have made a misstep in the name there. If they're watching this, they're probably a client anyway. But with Boom System, you were on board with us before we started that. And we got to take that from the beginning, and we kind of played around with a number of different colors. And we were like, okay, what is, what is going to really resound? And, and you got some pink in there. And I was like, I don't know. These are contractors. I don't know if they're going to like pink, but I think like the pink and the light blue and the purple, all, basically like girly colors. And like 90% of my clients are guys, right? But 99% of my clients have men and women working in the business. Yep. And I think it shows that like cutting edge technology, like it really, some of it's also in branding. It's like hindsight. Like you're like, I think this is right. Let's go see how the market responds. And then, I think it was the right move. But, for roofing companies that are out there that maybe have a decent brand, maybe it's not, they're not sure. I'd like to offer something, and, you work here, so I'm just going to make you do it. No, I know you would anyway, but, I'd like, if you guys are watching this and you want, Brandon to kind of do a brand consult for you and talk to you about like, here's what your brand is doing right now. And maybe here's some ideas of what we could do with it differently. Send us a message, send an email to brandon@restorationreferralsystem.com, and we'll address that this next week. If we get a bunch of submissions for that, we'll probably have to cull it down to just like one. And maybe we'll do some more later, give everybody some general advice or connect up with them. But I want to see out there if there's a way that we can help you. Brandon's really good at that. He's, obviously you've worked to build your skills there, but you're also kind of a natural. Like I could work for the next 20 years at trying to get good at branding, and I wouldn't be as good as you are. Right. Like, and so being able to, I think you could very easily point people in the right direction. And,
Sure.
And if they want to like hire you to do that, we can do that. Just don't steal them away from me. We need him. So, I appreciate you, joining me here in this.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you
and talking some branding.
Yep. Well, I've had fun, and I hope to see you guys next week.
Okay, cool. I'll let you go, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into our topic of the week, which is successfully coordinating a business development role within your organization. So there's a number of different ways that you can go after insurance agents, after relationships in your market. A lot of my companies that I work with use their project managers, where they are the boots on the ground. They are the ones talking to insurance agents. But a lot of times those people are busy. They're out inspecting roofs. They're out talking to customers, picking out shingles, meeting with adjusters, doing all that type of stuff. So I've seen a lot of companies that will hire a business development rep. And that's actually part of our ultimate referral relationship package that we just released last week. So if you haven't seen that, go to Restoration Referral Systems Facebook page and check out the details for that. But I'm not here to sell that. If you are, maybe you already have a business development rep, maybe you're hiring one, I want to take you through a few things about that role. Now, if you are not a client of mine and you're just having them run around town, dropping off brochures and candy and donuts and stuff like that, you are going to need to pay them a base, because they are never going to bring in enough business that you can justify paying them on a commission. Period. Sorry. It's just not going to happen. You are going to need to provide them with a base salary. And depending on your market, that could vary. That may be 20 grand, maybe 60 grand. But they're going to have some kind of base in order for them to invest that time driving all over town. You may need to provide them with a vehicle and gas and all that sort of stuff. One of the things that's kind of neat about what we've been doing is I actually have quite a few clients that will pay that business development person just a commission on the deals that they bring in. So they're going to meet with the insurance agent. They're reaching out to the agents to schedule a meeting. Then they're going to meet with them. They sit with them 45 minutes to an hour. They close about half of them. And then they get a commission on all of the referrals that come in from that lead source. There's a few things that you need in place to be able to do that. Number one, you need a way of tracking where that business is coming from. They're going to get really upset if they don't get paid their commission because you didn't know that it came from that referral source. So we use Boom System for that. We're setting that up for clients so that that referral gets accredited to the person that set up the referral relationship. Now, the other piece is that role, they do need to be local to your area. I don't think it makes sense to have someone telecommute and do that from afar. They need to be in your market so they can actually go face to face with these insurance agents, but they don't necessarily have to be full time. I've got a few of my clients that successfully have like a stay-at-home mom whose kids are now all in school. So Monday through Friday from like 9 to 3, she's got an open schedule. And while that doesn't work for a lot of jobs, and it could be a man or a woman, but stay-at-home parent, but for a lot of jobs, that schedule doesn't work. But if you can equip them with, hey, I'm only paying you commission, so it's okay if you only work 15 hours this week, or 10 hours this week, or whatever it is, they're able to go meet with these agents in 45 minutes, set that up so that that agent is referring them 10, 20 roofs. And the project managers are going to go out and inspect those roofs, sell the customers, all that, but they're going to get accredited. Those are going to get tagged for them. And every time one of those sells, say they're getting paid 3% of revenue, the way we've set up the pay plan for the business development people we're recruiting. That 3% on a $15,000 roof is $450. It's as much as a lot of people make in a week. Now, I can do that over and over and over again. And once I establish those referral relationships, I can keep establishing more and more and keep building up that roster of agents that are referring in. And so now I'm making $450 a dozen times a week. And I'm not the one that's going out and inspecting and documenting those roofs and selling the customer and meeting with the adjuster. I'm just doing that piece. So you can adjust the pay plan as you see fit. But for most companies, 3% of revenue is something that's manageable. They may even be able to, the salesman kind of take a little bit of a haircut on that deal since it's laid up right there for them. But they're able to make a good living on a flexible schedule without drawing a salary from the company. They're only being paid on their performance. So those are the highlights that I wanted to talk about today on the hiring that business development role. Now, in terms of how you pay them and what they're doing, and you can set up certain deliverables for them if you want to make sure that they're putting in the activity. But if they're only commission, just like a commission-only salesperson, they're usually going to be dedicated to putting in the work because they want to get paid. Now, in terms of attracting them, we just got through talking about branding and marketing. I think it's important that you are using your culture and your brand to sell that person on coming to work for you. Because just like you are attracting a certain type of customer based on how you are presenting your company, you're going to attract a certain type of employee based on how you're presenting your company. That's huge. And I don't want, it's a lot easier to fire a customer than it is to fire a salesperson. So if they are a fit, then, if they're attracted to what we're putting out and showing them our company, we're halfway there. And it's going to be a lot easier to get that person to sign on and work with us than it is if they just think we're like every other roofing company out there and they don't know who we are personally. So that's our training here. we are going to go ahead and address some questions that you guys have submit since we've been doing